know then they'll have that to come back to whenever they want to.
Yes.
And so I want you all to know that Cynthia and I have been good partners for quite a long time, and we have a really good relationship. She knows when I ask her a question, or I know when I ask Cynthia a question, that she doesn't think I'm silly or dumb or something worse. I don't worry about that in the least. And I don't think she does either. And so that's how we can be very productive, is to draw on each other's expertise and do that often. And we really do. Despite the fact that we both have a lot of our own responsibilities, we find those opportunities to pull things together. And so this is one of them. And she has really thought about what it is that you need to know in light of this assignment. So this is a great time to have her talk to you about that. Okay?
Okay. Great. I think we're ready to go ahead and get started then. And before we start, were you all also in the 801 session that I did through Zoom as well? I see people kind of nodding their head. Oh, that's great. I'm so happy to hear that.
I'm sorry I didn't think to tell you that. Yes.
That's what, no worries. I always like to ask because there might be a few people that are like in a different cohort group or maybe taking different classes. So I'm just really happy to have a chance to be with you again. You know, the first time that we did this through Zoom, I was in Kansas City in Overland Park, and I was doing that simultaneously with Dr. Faye's 801 class. And then I scooted over next door and I did Dr. Dow's 802 class. Yeah. So it was just, it was a very great experience. And I'm really happy to have a chance to do this again because I'm actually at home now. So if you see kind of different things behind you, I'm in my home office. And as Dr. Dow indicated, what we're going to do today is focus a little bit more specifically on your assignment for 802, what actually this type of guide or pathfinder is all about. And I'm going to show you the basics of using a system called LibGuides, which you can use to do this part of your assignment in order to create a research guide. We do use LibGuides very extensively at William Allen White Library. And what I'm going to do right now is go ahead and share my screen with you because I want to show you a couple of things that I hope will be of help to you. So the first thing I'm actually going to do is open up another tab. And this is going to look pretty familiar because what I'm going to wind up doing is taking this tab back to what you all will remember from our LI801 session, which is the University Libraries and Archives webpage, emporia.edu/library. And the reason I'm going to do that is I'm actually going to show you a different part now from the parts that we went over in 801. So what I'm going to do now, are you all seeing the University Libraries and Archives page? Okay, awesome, good, good, good. So I'm now going to actually click on something called Research Guides. And I demonstrated this and showed you a guide, I think, very, very briefly during our LI801 session. But the reason I'm going back to this is that, as I mentioned, we actually create a lot of research guides through LibGuides, through the library, for a lot of different disciplines. So I happened also to be the librarian liaison for psychology and also for counselor education, which encompasses art therapy, in addition to SLIM. And I really like that combination. Because among other things, it lets me kind of learn about different disciplines and try to figure out what it is that those students actually need for resources and for research. So what you can do here on this Research Guides link is search for SLIM. And if you do that, one of the first things you're going to see will be library and information management resources. And this is a LibGuide that I have created specifically for library and information management. So what we're actually doing right now in 802 is looking at it in a couple of different ways. So one way is if you were to go directly to libguides.emporia.edu/slim. That will take you back to this research guide. And this is a very good example of the type of guide that is more subject or discipline oriented. So this is one that I created specifically for you all as SLIM students. And basically just about everything that I talked about in our LI801 orientation is covered here, like starting your research, finding articles, interlibrary loan, APA citation and writing help, and so forth. So in one sense and on one level, this is for you all as students. But we're actually now going to look at this as an example of the type of guide that you could create for LI802. So I know that part of your assignment will be to identify a specific audience and then figure out what that audience's information need is going to be. Are you going to provide an introduction to a subject? Are you going to be working perhaps with a very specific group for very specific information need? Another good example would be if you want to become a children's librarian. Well, you might want to create a LibGuide or a research guide that is targeted specifically for a summer reading program, basically so that people, the parents and students could go back to that guide and get everything that they would need in order to complete the summer reading program. A lot of different ways that you can do this. If you were interested in featuring an activity such as Banned Books Week or National Library Week, you might decide that you're going to create a guide specifically for that. So the key thing, first of all, is figuring out who your audience is, what topic or subject or what it is that you really are going to create the guide for, and then figure out how you're going to organize this guide so that it's very easy to use from the user's perspective. That's, I think, one of the biggest challenges sometimes. Lots of different ways that you can do this. The great thing about LibGuides, and one thing I really like about it, is that it actually lets you concentrate a lot more on the content rather than trying to create a guide and do things like HTML coding and so forth. I date back to the bad old days when I actually had to do coding, and I can still do a little bit of HTML coding when I want to, but honestly, I'd much rather focus on the content. I don't really enjoy doing that, although I can if I need to. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come back to this guide and probably in a little bit to show you different ways that you can organize different things. But what I want to do first is go over to this tab. And the first thing that I'm going to show you all is how to get into the LibGuide system for SLIM. So there is a very separate and a really nice login that you all have specifically for LibGuides through SLIM. So if you went to emporiaslim.libapps.com, and if you all have your laptops with you, if you want to follow along, that would be great. emporiaslim.libapps.com. So I'm going to return to the login screen here. And Dr. Sutton is the administrator for the Emporia SLIM LibApp system, and she very kindly set me up with an account for your system so that I can go ahead and demonstrate what it is that I need to do. Now, you all will have a separate login and password. Usually your login is going to be your email address, and then you will be set up with your own passwords. I have my password, so I'm going to go ahead and log in just because I just want to show you how this actually works. And once you have a password for emporiaslim.libapps.com and you log in, the next thing you're going to do is click on LibGuides under this admin interface. The reason you want to click on this is that if I were just to click on emporiaslim.libguides.com, that's going to show me every LibGuide that's in that system, but I actually want to be in the administrative interface because I want to create a guide. So what I'm going to do today is just basically take you all through the different steps of creating a guide in LibGuides. And as Dr. Dow indicated, I am recording this session. So once it's recorded, I will convert it into a YouTube video. I'll send the link to Dr. Dow. She can put it in your Canvas course. And anything that you feel like you might want to re-watch, it'll be there at any point. I also do want to emphasize that, as you all know from LI801, you can contact me at any point at ckane1@emporia.edu. If you have any questions about creating your LibGuide from the aspect of the technical portion, how to put in a photo, how to create a page, and so forth, don't hesitate to email me and we can walk you through that process, or I could set up a Zoom appointment like we're doing right now, and we can just solve some things within a few steps. If you have more content-related questions, such as what actually to put in a LibGuide, or you're not quite sure, it probably would be better for the content portion to contact Dr. Dow and kind of get her perspective on what it is that she would want for that assignment. But the technical part, I am more than happy to help you with. That's just not a problem at all. So now we're going to have some fun. So the first thing I want to do is click on Create a Guide. And the first thing that I have to do, and by the way, you can change a lot of these things at any point, is that I'm going to start fresh, but I do have to give my guide a name. So I thought what I would do today is show you what I would do if I were getting ready to create a subject guide for another of my disciplines. So art therapy is part of counselor education. So I work a lot with art therapy students, and that's a lot of fun. I really do enjoy that. Art therapy students are like you all. They tend to be graduate students, but they're also very similar to you all in that they come from a lot of different places. They're not necessarily on campus, and they all come from different experiences and different backgrounds on knowing about library resources. Many of them are new to Emporia State, and so they've never actually seen our webpage before or know what we have. So I have to keep that in mind when I start creating a guide. So I'm going to call my guide Resources for Art Therapy, Emporia State University. And I could go back and change that title if I wanted to, but I just have to have something in there that would be a little bit of a placeholder. I'm now going to say what type of guide this is. And this is going to be more of a subject guide. Notice up here there's one that's called a course guide though. I also create different LibGuides that are for very specific courses. So for example, I have one out there that's for a very specific course in counselor education. And that one tends to be more geared toward an assignment in that course, very specific information that those students want. I'm going to do a subject guide today. And I'm not really going to protect it with a password. Basically what this means is if you're working in a library system that has LibGuides, you can actually create what's called internal guides where it says internal with a password. And that could be a really good place to put policies for your library, like circulation policies, technical services policies that you want to share and that you would want to update at any point, but you don't want the general public actually to see that. I'm not going to do that. This is going to be more of a community one. So we're going to go ahead and create guide. And as you can see, this looks kind of boring right now. So now we're going to have some fun. The first thing I do want to do is go over the language that LibGuides actually uses. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you. I would tend to call like this home page, I would tend to call that more of a tab. However, in the language of LibGuides, they call these actually pages rather than tabs. So it's super easy to create a new page. You will always have a plus sign. And you can keep adding new pages as you go along. So what I might do is call this new page something like using the discovery search. And I'm going to say also William Allen White Library Catalog. I have a similar page like this on your SLIM guide. So super easy to create a new tab or a new page. You just click on the plus sign, decide what it is that you want to call it. Again, if you decide that you want to rename that something else, very, very easy to do. But let's go back to this home. So at the home tab, I'm going to add what's called a box. So within the pages of LibGuides, you basically add what are called boxes. And boxes are actually where you're going to put your different types of content. So today, what I'm going to do is show you the different types of boxes that are out there. and kind of help you decide which ones you would want to use depending upon the content that you're going to be adding for each page. So we're going to click on Add Top Box. And I might just call this one Introduction. Again, doesn't have to be anything that fancy. Once you actually add a box, so this top box right now is going to be kind of a long box, as you can see, that's going to go across the top of the page. When I get into using the discovery search in just a second, I'm going to show you about adding boxes in what are called different columns. A lot of this is more of a design feature or a design element. You want to think about what it is that you want to get across to your audience and how they're going to be able to see that visually the best. So usually I will start with kind of a long box like this, because this is where I can start having some fun. So now what I want to do on my introduction is add some content. So we're going to click on Add or Reorder. See all those different possibilities there? These are all the different things that you can do with LibGuides, and I'm going to show you some of these as we go along. The more common one probably that you are going to wind up using is one that's called Rich Text HTML, because it tends to be the most versatile one. Now, what I like to do, you can see that kind of looks like a Microsoft Word document. You can change your font. Sometimes I like to use Tahoma because it's pretty clear, but you can also use Times New Roman. And you can also change the size of the font. I do tend to experiment with the size of the fonts because I will tell you something about LibGuides. The default font for their content in LibGuides tends to be really tiny, and I usually have to enlarge it. So I rather like working with a larger font. So I changed that to Tahoma, and I changed it to 16 point. And now I'm going to say, hello and welcome to Art Therapy. That I can say. And see, that changed again. So I'm still going to have to go back. It doesn't necessarily stay. So I'm going to do Tahoma again. 16 size. And sometimes it's good at the very beginning of your guide to tell your audience what the purpose is. So the purpose of this guide is to provide an overview of resources for research in, or I might say through, the William Allen White Library. Okay, I could keep adding more content, but again, I want to allow time for questions, and I also want to allow time to show you different types of content. So you see how super easy that was to do. You can save your information if you want to keep adding content, or you can click on Save and Close. If I click on Close without saving, my changes will be gone. The one thing about LibGuides, it is a little bit different from other systems. It doesn't necessarily save your work as you go along. So you always either want to save or save and close. And there we go. So that was very easy to do. So let's go to using the discovery search. Because what I'm going to do now is actually add some boxes here in columns. And the reason I want to do that is that I'm going to add one column that will talk about the discovery search. But then I want to add another column that's going to talk about the William Allen White Library Catalog. And the reason I'm doing that is that you all probably remember from the LI801 introduction that the discovery search and the catalog are actually part of the same search, but there are different things that you can do with it. So what I might want to do here is under William Allen White Library Catalog, I have to show you this. I love this part. So it may be that from the William Allen White Library Catalog, there may be some really good books that have to do with art therapy that I would like to feature and highlight. And it's really easy to do something like this. So we're going to go back to the University Libraries and Archives. And what I'm going to do is an advanced search, and I think it is the Wiley Handbook. Wiley Handbook of Art Therapy. Bingo, there we go. Okay, so the reason I want to have this highlighted here is that I can actually, from the catalog, there's a lot of information about it. I'm going to copy the ISBN, and then I'm going to go back over here, actually go back to my edit, there we go. Okay, and I'm going to paste the ISBN, and I want to get the book information about this. See what happened? And you can actually do this with books that are actually not in your library catalog. If you copy and paste an ISBN from a book from Amazon, for example, the LibGuides is intelligent enough to go out and they can actually find the cover of that book. And so you can have a lot of fun kind of highlighting maybe particular books. So the reason I wanted to do this from our catalog, though, is that I also wanted to grab down here the call number of the book, put that in here, and it looks like that was on deck 4. If you all ever have an opportunity to visit Emporia, I hope that you'll have a chance to do that maybe one of these days and come to the library. We have most of our circulating books on decks of the library, and you might be familiar with the term stacks. It's basically the same thing, but we call them decks. Okay. And you see a nice description is in here about the book, but I didn't have to put that description in. It actually was intelligent enough to grab that from the information from the ISBN. So we're going to go ahead and save this. Okay. And look at that. I love this. So I believe part of your assignment will be to basically provide information about maybe particular books, journal articles, and so forth that you would recommend for your audience. Again, you see the way that I did that was to go to Add and Reorder. Scroll down a little bit here, and I went to Book from the Catalog from that. And again, all I need is just to find the ISBN. It can be from the library catalog, or it can be from perhaps an ISBN that you find on Amazon as well. I grabbed this because I wanted to highlight a book that we actually had in the library.
Cynthia,
So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
we have a question here.
Absolutely, please.
So if you were to have like copied and pasted the URL of where it comes up in the catalog, could you have put that in the LibGuide so it like links to the catalog?
Yes. Yes, I sure could. I could copy and paste that, and it should link to the catalog. I'm going to put actually a kind of a disclaimer on that as well. That will actually only work for our library catalog. And the reason I say that, if you all want to do that with our library catalog or with your own library's catalogs, is that normally library catalogs are pretty public. Nobody has to really log in order to use a library catalog. It's kind of like putting in a link from Google, for example. You do not want to copy and paste a URL for a journal article from a database, though. The reason is that databases are unique to different libraries. So the databases that we have from William Allen White Library are not the same databases that somebody else might have. And because they are unique, those URLs are actually going to come up with error messages if you copy and paste the URL for a journal article from a database. But if I had done that with the book, yes, then they could just go ahead and click on that and they could go directly to at least that catalog record. So does that help?
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. No, these are great questions. And please stop me at any point if you do have any questions as well, because I do want to allow time, but I also want to address anything that comes up as you go along. So let's go over to the discovery search. Again, I could do the rich text HTML, and I'm going to go back to this because what I'm going to do now is change this to Tahoma and 16. And And I can say the discovery search through WAW Library will help you find books, ebooks, journal articles, and other items that are owned by the library. You can find it by going to, okay, and now what I'm going to do is actually add a link. This is what I wanted to show you. Different ways that you can add URLs or links. So if you're in the rich text HTML format, you can click on link, that little link thingy. That's a very professional term, link thingy, I realized. I'm very good at that. Notice that I clicked on target. So you all probably know this from clicking on links. You do want to set your target, and that just simply means when someone actually clicks on that link, is that link actually going to open in a new window or in the same window? I always change this to open in a new window because I don't want people to have to click or navigate back and forth from a page. So I want this target or this link to open in a new window. And now I can put in here emporia.edu/library. There you go, and it's all set. Or I could do this, because sometimes we like to basically highlight words and have those as hyperlinks. So if I highlighted discovery search, went back over here to link, target for a new window, I can do the same thing here. And a lot of you may be comfortable doing this, like through Microsoft Word or through other documents. emporia.edu/library. There you go. And see, I've actually made that word discovery search into a hyperlink. Again, it just sort of depends on what you want to do. I kind of like doing this, but then I also like to sometimes spell out links so that people actually have them. And again, save and close. So I'm going to do something right here, because this is a good place to take a look at this. So you notice that with this layout, it's actually saying column 3. Well, I want to click on layout now, because I really don't want 3 columns. I want 2 columns here. Now, you can change your layout just to be 1 column, like that long box at the top of the page. If you wanted just 2 columns to be on your page, you could have them as 50-50 so that they are of equal width. Or you could have one a little bit smaller, one a little bit larger on the left or the right. And I want this to be 2 columns, 50-50. And we'll let this update. There you go. You see how that changed really easily. So there's just a lot of different things that I could do. So now we're going to go back up here. We're going to add a new page. And I'm going to call this one Finding Journal Articles. We've got a new page going here. And we'll let that save. There we go. Come on. There we go. Okay, Finding Journal Articles. So what I could do on this one here would be a couple of different things. I could say that this box will be library databases. So in this case, I'm thinking about databases that are owned by William Allen White Library because that's my target audience. If you are doing a target audience that's associated maybe with the local public library that you attend or that you work for, you might want to focus a little bit more upon resources that are available through that local public library that your audience would have access to. So that's really important to think about. So now we're going to go to library databases, again on our boxes, to add or reorder. In this case, I could click on database if I wanted. And the way that we have our databases organized through William Allen White Library, they're actually connected with our LibGuides system. I could add these if I were logged into my library account, our William Allen White Library account, but I'm not. I'm logged into the SLIM account, so I am not going to be able to use that. I did kind of want to highlight that for you all, but I could go back down in here. I could do my rich text HTML again, and I could go ahead and keep adding names of databases. Or what I could do is, I'm going to add another box here, because with art therapy, we're going to add, let's see, I think I'm going to call this on, let's do freely available journals and articles, because I want to show you another type of box you can create. Okay, so as it happens, I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go to American Art Therapy Association. So, do here is go to publications for the American Art Therapy Association. And what I could do is make a note that if somebody using this guide is already a member, we have a lot of students in art therapy that are student members of the American Art Therapy Association. I could actually provide a link to this and provide a description that they could log into their account, access past and current issues of the journal. So if I wanted to do that, I can just copy this link, go back over here, and now what I'm going to do is add something called a link. And this is going to be American Art Therapy Association journals. We're going to paste that link. Again, that window target, I want that to open in a new window. And what I can do is say, if you are a student member of ATA, you can log into the ATA journals with your provided login and password to read the articles. There we go. That's not super exciting, but you kind of get the idea of what you can add. Now, with links, this is actually, I could add a bunch of links here. I could add a link directly to ATA, to the American Art Therapy Association. I could add different links to anything in terms of Kansas Art Therapy or other states. What I want to do is, I'm going to show you what I like to do with links when I add those. This description can pop up in a lot of different ways. I kind of like this description to hover over an icon for information. And I'll show you what that will look like. So when I do this, and I'm going to show you something here too. At any point, that little eye up there is a guide preview. So I'm going to click on guide preview. This will open another tab. And at any point, you can see what your guide looks like up to that point. And if you don't like the way it's displaying, you know that you can go back in, change the way that it looks, and you should be good to go. So with that little eye icon that I added for the information, when I hover over this, hopefully it will do its thing. I don't know why it's, yeah, there we go. You have to position it the right way. So when I did that, when I hover my cursor over that eye for info, that description will pop up. You could, though, change it. If I go back in here, if I want to edit this, You could change the description just to display beneath the title of your item or hover over the item title. It just depends on how you would want to do that. I kind of like the icon for the eye, but again, it just sort of depends on the way you would want that to show. We can save that again. And I could keep adding another link. So I could just keep adding those, and then I could have the system actually resort those in alphabetical order. Okay, so I'm going to add another one now for videos. Because what you can do with videos, we're going to go to YouTube now. You can actually embed videos into your LibGuides, and it's really kind of nice to be able to do. So I'm going to type in just art therapy. There's art therapy techniques. So if I had a really good video that I wanted to feature for my audience, here's one that's called Art Therapy Exercises for Depression. Okay, we're not going to actually play this because I'm going to stop that.
Hey, big news. You're about to discover.
Here we go. Yeah, stop that. I think it's kind of going from one to another. I'm going to go back here.
Hey, big news.
There we go. Okay. So what I could do at this point is I could scroll down. We're going to get rid of that.
I finally hit rock bottom when I
We'll click on OK here.
34th birthday. I didn't want any pictures. I didn't want a celebration.
We're going to skip this ad
My name is Deb Shoemaker,
and stop this. So when I go to share,
we're going to jump right into it.
oh, it keeps going to that one. Okay. So we're going to click on share on this one.
Thank you. I finally hit rock bottom.
Yes.
When I realized for my 34th birthday, I didn't want any pictures.
Skip ad.
My name is Deb Shoemaker, and I'm an art therapist.
I want to try to get into this share thing. What I want to do when I get into this share, once it finishes loading, is it will show you how you can share, through the YouTube link, but there should be a place that will pop up on here too that will actually let you copy and paste the embed code. And if it looks like that's going to be kind of slow, I may just kind of skip that because again, I'm kind of looking at your time frame and I want to allow for questions. So you may not want to do what it wants to do. I'm going to try that one more time here. Seems like that's going to be kind of slow. Okay. But the other thing we could do is just grab, we're just going to go ahead and grab the URL. And I can, again, go to add top box if that's what I want to add. And I could do video art therapy videos for depression. Save that. Okay, I'm going to go back down here. So if I had been able to grab that embed code to video, just being a little bit slow, I would have then gone to Media Widget. And this is actually where you could put in the name of the video and then you could paste that embed code. And then what you're actually doing is embedding that video within your LibGuide. So I wish I'd been able to show that to you. Like I said, what I could do though is just go back to link and I could paste that vid. I could just go ahead and just paste the link and then just do art therapy for depression. New window again. Okay, let's see if it likes that any better. Oh, duh, there we are. Don't do what I do. There we go. All right, now we put that where it needs to be. There we are. Open a new window. Okay, so then you do have this, but I actually prefer the embed code, so hopefully you all can get that to work for you because it's just really nice. Again, once you find an embed code for a YouTube video or a video from Daily Motion or any place else, you would just go to Add Reorder and then go to Media Widget, and then that's where you would put in that embed code. Okay, so I also wanted to show you one more thing on here, and then I do want to allow for time for questions. So I've been doing a lot of content so far. However, you can also add photos or images. You can add images like from Creative Commons that actually are copyright free. If you go to add to rich text or HTML, to add that particular box first for rich text or HTML, and then go here to image. So if you had a direct URL for an image, you could actually enter that here, or you can click on Browse Server. And when you do this, you can upload a new image that could be from your computer. And I'm going to scroll down here and keep going because I'll show you how easy it is to do. Let's do this one for fake news because I kind of like that one. Okay. Now we're going to do open. So you might have a nice little video, a picture or an image that really does help liven that up. Okay, so notice that you get this preview here. What I usually do at this point is I'll click on OK. And if I'm okay with the way that would look, as you can see, it actually looks pretty good. However, let's just say though that maybe it's not the right size. It's not really the size that you want. If you click here on the image itself, let's go back over here. We go to edit here. Okay. So I went back to edit. And by the way, that edit, it's really hard to see. I've got my little cursor here. See that little teeny tiny thing that looks like a pencil? That's your edit. And you can always click on edit in any of your boxes to change anything. So I did have to go to edit first. Then I clicked on the image and I'm going to go back to image properties. And what is kind of nice about this is that I can play around with the width and height. So I'm usually not very good at this when it comes to pixels. So I do a lot of experimentation. So if I typed in 300, okay, see how it's kind of changing that width and height automatically? Or if I did 400, that shows me, that's not really what I want there. I could do 350. So I can kind of keep playing around with that. So I could actually say that I wanted this to stay on the left side of the page, or I might want it to be actually on the right side of the page, so I can change that at any point as well. And then we'll save and close, and see that I changed this, and it moved it over to the other side. So I really do encourage you to play with some images because I really do think it does help to jazz things up a little bit. There is one more item that I want to show you. And then I think we're doing pretty well on time. We're going to have a good chunk of time for questions and just see what you all think at this point. So the last thing I wanted to show you was up here on this URL. This is what I would call an incredibly unfriendly URL. There's no way people can actually remember this. The first part of the URL, excuse me, for your site will always be the https emporiaslim.libguides.com. That's the domain. But if you click on this little pencil again, you can actually rename the last part of your LibGuides so it's a little bit more friendly. So I could call this Art Therapy. Oh, I already had that. Art Therapy Resources. There we go. and we'll tell you if one is already in use. So this changed. Now I have what's called a friendly URL. So the last thing you all are going to do, once you've got your guide all taken care of, you can change the status and share. Right now this is unpublished, so nobody else can see this right now. But if I go to change status, if I change this to published, everyone in the SLIM LibGuide system will be able to see your guide. If you change it to private, only the individuals who have that actual URL will be able to see your guides. So I think that you all may be publishing these as published because that's just still within the LibGuides system. But always remember that you are going to have to publish that at some point when you're ready to submit that for your assignment so that Dr. Dow and others in your so I'm going to go ahead and close this because I'm not ready to publish this right now. Okay. Questions at this point?
You mentioned finding images through Creative Commons. How do you do that?
Can you repeat that, or Dr. Dow, can you repeat that question?
Yes. She asked how would you find an image through Creative Commons?
Oh, very good. That's an awesome question. Let's just look at that right now because I'm also going to look up another site for you that I want you to be aware of. If I go to Creative Commons, I'm just doing Creative Commons images. There are several different sites that you can search for. CC Search, which is CC Search at creativecommons.org, that will actually let you search by a topic or a subject. So if I search for art, I have a ton of images here, but I can limit my image type if I only wanted photographs or illustrations. And because I'm searching within CC Search, these are copyright free. So it is perfectly fine for me to highlight one that would look interesting. That's kind of a neat one. I could embed it, or I could right click and save image as. There's another site though too. Let me actually close this here. There's another site that I really like, and it's called Pixabay, Pixabay, Pixabay. And Pixabay will do the same thing. These are actually free images, copyright free. And you can do the same thing. You can search by topic, by subject, and then you can find photos or illustrations that would look kind of interesting. It looks like you can also find some copyright-free videos as well. But those are two really good ways of searching. I like to do that, particularly if I'm doing anything like creating an infographic as well, because I don't want to use any type of image or photo that might actually have a copyright on it that might cause a little bit of problems later on. So does that help? Other questions?
Cynthia,
Yes.
I wanted to ask you to talk a little bit more about linking to journal articles.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I remember that we talked about that before, and that sometimes that can be,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say problematic, but it can be, yeah.
So whenever they create their guide in the using our license, when they're in our platform, it seems like to me that they can link to the journal articles and I can open them, but somebody on the outside wouldn't be able to.
Yes, that would be very, very true. Let me show you one of the best ways of doing that because, and I think that's probably because we're still using the SLIM LibGuides system, and then you're still within Emporia State University. I think that's probably why you can do that.
Yeah. So let me ask you, excuse me, I think I interrupted you, but I have
No.
one more thing I want to ask you about it. So since this is for an assignment, and because not everyone will be able to, well, let me start that over. We really only have permission to use it as an instructional activity. We
Right.
can't, there's not a way to move it from this place to a place where you would want it to be.
No,
So
that is,
as long as we're doing that,
mhm.
it's okay to link to the William Allen White journals. And wouldn't you say so, Cynthia?
Yes, that's exactly what I think, because you're talking about more fair use in terms of an instructional activity.
Yes.
Yes, you would be fine.
So if you have a use for your guide that you'd like to take your work to, you'd like to do something with it, the best that I think you can do, and unless Cynthia can think of something else, I don't believe there's anything wrong with you finding, selecting, and organizing as your assignment, and then replicating that on a website or someplace in some platform that you
Yes.
have access to and the legal right to use.
Yes, that
That's
would be,
kind of an extra step, but when you think about it, that the fact that you have that work done and you've had input put toward doing that, it might be worth it to put
yes,
it to that
absolutely.
platform.
And two very good freely available website programs are Wix, www.wix.com, and then Weebly, which is weebly.com. I've used both of those. And those are basically freely available website programs with a lot of templates that are already set up. And that, I think either one of those would be a good place to move the content. But yes, you're exactly correct, Dr. Dow. We can go ahead and use this platform because it is for instructional activity for classes within Emporia State University.
So in the assignment, I've included a list of types of sources.
Yes.
And I really would like you to strive to do as many of those as you can. I think the way I've written it, it might sound like you have to do all of them, but I don't, I'm willing to be flexible about that because some of your topics won't be, you know, it won't be a good choice depending on the topic to have every one of those types of sources. But and I really would like for you to sort of give yourself permission to do this as an exercise to learn. And so trying to do as many of the things that I asked you to do in the assignment and trying to use the features of the software that Cynthia has showed you, that's all really worthwhile learning that you ought to do selfishly. You should take this opportunity to learn as much as you can that way. Now, I also really love the idea of you sharing your work and using it in a realistic place. I already told you of an example of that this morning, and that door is open too. But I'm just telling you, I really want you to learn this. Take this time to do your best to learn as much as you can about sharing resources, answering frequently asked topic or question, and using the features of the platform.
Mm-hmm. I also brought up one more link that I wanted to share with you all. Are you seeing LibGuides community on your screen now? Okay, community.libguides.com. LibGuides, which is out of SpringShare, is really great about sharing these types of guides within that community, and that was part of what Dr. Dow was also just talking about as well. Sometimes I struggle for ideas on how I want to create a guide, and the LibGuides community will let you actually search by topics, and it will give you some wonderful ways that different libraries, academic, public, and special, have approached different topics. For example, here's a featured guide on hip hop and activism.
Mm-hmm.
And they've done a lot of interesting things with that. So it looks like that was something they did back in February of 2017. And this is a really good example of a guide that isn't really a subject or a topic guide. It's almost more like an event guide. It looks like it is a subject guide, but it's supporting basically this event that they had throughout the month. This would also be a good way of doing something like for Black History Month, again, National Library Week, Banned Books Week. I would really encourage you to go to community.libguides.com, and that can help you get some other ideas of different designs as well and different elements, because we've really just kind of scratched the surface today.
Yeah, it's a very good start though. And also I have a short list of examples that I think are kind of can be instructional in nature, and I'm going to tell you this afternoon a little bit about why I selected them as examples. That's, I mean, I hope you look at the LibGuides community, but I also know that you want to know what is it that I really want you to achieve.
Absolutely.
And that's what my examples will help to do. And unbeknownst to Cynthia, one of my examples is her art therapy course. Yeah.
I picked well today. That's great. I'm so glad you're using that.
So anybody else? I didn't mean to cut anyone off.
So when do we get like the link to access LibGuides?
Well, probably next week. I could have done it before I came, but I was afraid you would get the welcome message and not think it was really anything.
Yeah.
So I thought I should wait until after we saw you. And it seems to me also that if you don't log on to it right away, if you let it stay cold and untouched for several weeks, I think it will lock you out.
Yeah. Okay.
So I want you to know when I do it, and you to watch for it and open it and get into it right then.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like ready
To click away. Yeah. Okay, Cynthia, I think we've done it. You
All
did a nice
right.
job. You did a nice job as always.
Well,
Appreciate it.
oh, it's so good to see you all again. And again, don't hesitate to email me once you start getting into LibGuides. And if you have any questions about creating that and how to do different things, and I'll be happy to help you with that. And then I'll have the recording then for Dr. Dow to put in your Canvas course.
Okay, perfect.
Bye-bye.
So much.
Cynthia.
I think she's gone.
She's gone.
Oh, no, I'm still here.
We were curious about the sleeping pods.
At the Emporia Library.
She doesn't want to talk about them.
Oh,
No,
no, okay,
No.
that's fair.
that's really not true. She would have talked about them. I don't think she's all that proud of them, but
Okay, we'll let it go.
I'll tell you about them. I walk past them every day.